All right, I think we're working. We got the red light. What's happening, Fish and friends? Welcome to another live. Michael Bradley. I actually was sleeping just a little bit ago. I was gonna say Dizzle in the chair with me. Stubbins, Mr. Stubbins' dog, jumped up in the chair with me, and we were hanging out. I went fishing early this morning with Mr. Matt. Took his boat out. We brought it back to see if it would fit in my garage, and it did not. Dizzle, there will not be adventures of Debo and Dizzle on that one. However, Dad did say that we need to steal his boat more and take it. So I said, we can do that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many more times I can just agree to that statement of what your dad keeps saying, but yes, let's do that.
Let's do it. Hopefully July 4th. Hopefully we can have another July 4th at the impoundment and get on some topwater walking bait.
Man,
Fish.
I got sad news, Debo.
What?
Our favorite topwater frog and pikey spot, I think it's done,
Hmm.
man. I really think it is. I went again today. I tried a couple of different spots. I tried two other spots that I don't traditionally go to. Nothing in any of them. I have no idea when or where or
Oh,
what they could be doing, but I just have to assume that there's no fish in there whatsoever.
I know that's man, that makes me want to cry. That makes me want to cry. We'll have to find another good spot. What will
Yeah.
the adventures of Debo and Dizzle lead to now that our favorite froggy pike catching spot is gone? I don't know. We got a bunch of people in here though, Randall. We're at an even 100. What do we
Nice.
have playing tonight? I don't know. We're talking summer fishing, hot summer fishing. It's starting to get to that temperature where it's like, man, you got to get up early. You got to get on some fish because it's going to be getting hot. Do you stay out? Is it worth it? What can you still find fish? What's going on? So I figure we're going to kind of go down that. I was going to kind of give an update. I've been sort of MIA. I know I have been lax on the Instagrams. I haven't posted for a minute. I have been pretty dang busy with things going on, work, family stuff. I was actually with Monster Bass a couple days filming some stuff for them, which is really fun. I got to go up to Minnesota. We did not fish with Minners in Minnesota. That would have been ironic, though.
Yeah, right. I bet you did.
So I got to do that. That was a bunch of fun. Caught some good fish. I was going to try to meet up with Mr. Hellabass. I see him in there. He was literally like 30 minutes from where I was at. But I got done early Sunday or Sunday. See, I'm all mixed up on my days. Whatever day I was up there and left early in the morning, so he would have still been working. What else we got in here? We got a bunch of members in here. Of course, I want to thank all the members. Anybody that's a member of the DEBO'S Fish and channel, Creek and Trails, for example. You can see he's got the membership icon there. Everybody who continues to do that, the memberships keep growing. Randy will need to plan out another members live. Hopefully
Yeah.
we can get it working to where I can see the comments and stuff, because that was kind of a debacle having the comments on my phone and such. But Rich said he had done it and it worked completely fine. Who else, man? We got a full house in here. Hey, Mr. Bass. I haven't seen him in a minute. How are you, brother? Mr. Randall William Soley. Mr. Bass slayed him today. Somebody else said they slayed him. I was going through.
Yeah, I saw something too.
Gramps? Gramps, was I there when Paul was there? No, he was there the week before me.
Oh,
Um,
that's funny
Bass
because
was in
like
here.
in their
Trevor,
last
Braden.
the last Burley podcast, they were like, yeah, it's Paul said something about going and nobody was around, and then the very next week everybody was around. Oh, it made me laugh.
Poor Paul. Oh, Mr. Bat. Okay, that's why. Yeah, dude, there is nothing wrong with that at all. More time fishing, less time live streaming. Dude, amen to that. It is such a I know the Burley guys, speaking of them, they said they were kind of on a deal where they were a little bit burnout, and Burley had some other obligations where things were kind of getting, half and half in the way. So I know Burley's going to take some time off. Paul's going to kind of take over the live streams, but dude, I get it. There's been so many times where I've been like, you know what, I'm done. I don't want to do YouTube anymore. I just want to go fish when I can and have fun, because it's crazy how much of a um I don't want to say burden. Burden isn't the right uh, word. Like anxiety, how much anxiety it gives you. Like, we
Yeah.
only get a couple days to fish through the week. 3 maybe tops if it's a good week, but usually only a couple days during the week. So it's like I got to catch something. I've always got that drive to. I have to get stuff to to get the footage, and it's not just hey we're gonna go out and fish for fun, but we'll talk about some of that. We'll talk about kind of some updates. I don't know. I had stuff written down. I don't know where I put it, but we're going to kind of go over some summer stuff. I've had a bunch of questions like that. People, saying it's starting to get hot. What do we do? Is it even worth me going out? It's too hot now. I'm not even going to go out and fish. And that's like the worst thing because I can't tell you how many times in the most strange days of fishing you end up hooking into a good fish. Like you literally just never know.
Or
So
lots of fish.
yeah, or a day. Yeah, Randy and I just had a day. I mean, Randy and I had a day where we started out catching a couple, and it was all right. And then like we made a little bit of a move, a little bit of switch, and then it turned into a 50 fish day. Like it was the first day that we've had that we just absolutely crushed them. No big ones, no giants, but
Yeah,
dude, just
super tons of wind, rain, the whole nine of like a poor day that you want to be outside standing in the weather.
yes, yeah, man. We got a ton of people in here. Jermaine, I saw
And
Braden,
TJ
my
just
guy,
showed up, it
always.
looks like.
Yeah, there's Jim. Man, what a full house. See, this is the cool thing about fishing
Heck
is
yeah.
there's so many channels. I was I was watching another channel and they were talking about like what can we do to be, like essentially the best and like doing this like stupid video stuff and like just cracks me up, man. And then you've got other channels out there that are like, hey, we just want to fish. We want to have a good time. Cuda, for example, there's Cuda. I was just going to quote that last night watching Cuda on Gramps' channel. If y'all don't follow Jig Squad and all these other people that I've mentioned, go check them out. But Cuda was on there last night with Gramps, and he's like, "Listen, I don't have time for um, not necessarily drama, but like trolls and like idiots." He's like, "I'm trying to do what I can when I can and try to help people along the way," and that's completely it, man. That is completely the way to be for me, anyway. And those are the people that I like. The Hella Bass, Mr. Bass, Gramps, Jim. Cuda, all those type of people that are like, hey, we want to try to have as much fun as we can and help people out. So I see Robin here, Scott. What a fun time. So Dizzle, what did you do any fishing today? I didn't get to talk to you much today.
Yeah, no, I literally went out maybe probably 2 hours ago and tried to hit. Well, I went to our pikey froggy spot, and granted, it's bluebird skies and hot and almost no wind today, but I figured I'd hit some spots. I got some hangovers or some shady areas to see if I could get anything to bite, and there wasn't anything doing anything other besides the flies. Why are the flies biting right now? What is a flighting?
Biting flies?
Jeez, what is a biting fly? Why do they bite? There's no reason for them to bite. That's the
Yeah, I
dumbest
don't
thing I've
know.
ever heard.
Same thing as ticks. I don't know why ticks were ever invented. Whoever invented ticks needs slapped because there's no use anywhere for them.
But we do need to tame and wrangle and train some peacocks to hang out with us while we go
Yeah.
fishing.
Yeah, Randy was telling me about this. So we may be the first YouTube channel to have companion peacocks. And Randy had to explain to me, I'm like, why the hell would we want peacocks to go fishing with us? He's like, oh, you didn't know peacocks eat ticks? Like, I love eating ticks. I was like, I didn't know that was a thing. So we may be the first YouTube channel to have two pet peacocks following us around eating ticks while we're fishing. That's what it's come to. That's how hard up for views I am that we're gonna literally tame peacocks and have them as pets. I joke, but so one thing that I was gonna update on, that was one thing I wanted to talk about. So fishing with
Peacocks?
yes, peacocks. Fishing with somebody when I was filming that stuff in Minnesota. I was on a boat with somebody that had well, they had live scope. I didn't use it, but it was the 360 mega imaging or something like that. It was like a little round thing you watch on the screen, and it kept like going around like a sonar. And it would show you where the rocks and stuff were. Dude, I couldn't believe that. I couldn't even imagine getting good with that, like offshore stuff. That's
So
literally a
more
whole
of
different
like
world.
a God, what more of like a ice fishing flasher kind of thing, or
No, like imagine like the military boats, like when they're out on the
okay?
aircraft carriers, and it's like got the thing goes there and like bing, and it shows like the bing,
Oh yeah,
pretty much
yeah.
like that, except like quicker, and it's
It's
like
always green,
3D.
also, right?
Yeah, always green, and there's little triangles that show you the fish. Like no, but
Gotcha.
yeah. Paul, there's Paul. Speaking of Paul, 360 Mega. Yeah, it was Sam Moore, Mr. Sam Moore, who does the video stuff uh for Monster Bass, who has an amazing boat. I was geeking out checking out his camera equipment and stuff, just crazy. But I couldn't believe that just the 360, and then he was talking about like live scope and all this other crap that I have no idea how to use. But I couldn't believe the difference of, oh, we're out in 15 feet of water and I can see exactly where those boulders are. And it's got like lines of 25, 50, 75, 100 feet from you. So literally exactly at 1 o'clock, 50 feet from me, there's a big rock pile. And I can literally just keep casting to it. So
That's
as
that.
far as,
That's that video game fishing stuff.
dude, it was crazy. I couldn't imagine. So like getting good at that. And that kind of sparked a thought in my head. So we've kind of seen the change in fishing from, back in the old days, a lot of the bank beaters and, then some simple electronics came out. How is the next generation? I'm not a huge, like, I don't follow all of the professional bass fishing. Whoops, I just hit y'all. Sorry.
Jeez.
Um, but I wonder how different that's going to be by the new anglers coming up, like with the college fishing, especially with the rise in fishing popularity, how crazy that's going to be for these kids that are really good with electronics, learning all this stuff growing up with these fishing and, getting onto the tournament trail. I don't know,
Yeah,
this,
I think Paul just said it. I mean, that's what they're doing right now. It's learning live scope and
yeah,
live scope or that kind of, system or whatever is the new end all be all. And, I kind of go back to the fact of there's a movie, it's called Bait Shop. It's got Billy
oh,
Ray Cyrus and
Bill
God, Bill
Engvall.
Engvall, yeah, and like Bill Engvall is just a local bait shop guy, and he fishes off of instinct and knowledge and knowing and stuff like that. Where Billy Ray Cyrus has all these fancy gadgets and gizmos, and at the end of the day, Bill Engvall prevails because he is, he fishes off instinct and more along that line. He knows how to catch a fish versus he knows where the fish are to throw bait at. I think that that is going to be something that, regardless of how well you know how to look at your sonars or your side imaging or your live scopes or whatever, if you don't know what you should be throwing, when you should be throwing, all the elements and things like that, you're still never going to be able to catch the fish. I mean, sure, you could, as they say, a broken clock's right twice a day. You can run across a fish here and there if you know where they are, but still knowing and being able to fish is more important, I think, in the long run. But who knows, you know?
Yeah, and there's definitely somebody said it's not the be all end all, but another tool, Jim. Yeah, absolutely, Jim. I agree. And this was the other part that I was going to go into, Bayou. He nailed it. So I know we're getting off track here. We will be getting to summer fishing. I'm sorry, all this was just kind of some stuff that sparked while I was up there. Like it really got me thinking because I've never got to play with this stuff. I've never used the hell, I don't even know what all it's called. Like the Garmin Panoptics type stuff where you can see the fish live. We need Hank in here, Bass Geek, he knows all this stuff. But anyway, where you can essentially see the fish live. So, like they were talking about, you can go up to a spot and see, oh, I found a bunch of submerged trees at 10 feet with this 360. Then you can turn live scope on and actually see, are there fish behind it? And I know Randy and I have been at a spot a couple times where there's a guy in a boat with the live scope and literally is like going to these places checking, and then we'll find it and then just sits there on the fish. So it's a big time saver, number one. But like Bayou said, what will tech be in 10 years? Because if you think back, there was just a meme that I ran across that like I say this all the time, and I really don't think people comprehend. From 1900 to now, we went from no planes, nobody in planes, just barely over 100 years ago, to people flying in planes, to people flying in spaceships to another, well, not necessarily a planet, but moon. That's in 100 years. Can you imagine? What's going to
Yeah.
happen in the next 100 years? That stuff always just blows my mind, because like we're just this little pea in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, what's tech going to do in 10 years? And we've got live scope now. We've got, I don't know. And
You
I'm not
know,
a
and
huge I'm not a huge tournament guy, but I kind of follow some of it and watch them when they're on. But will there be more changes like MLF? MLF, unless you've gone to the spot, I almost think it needs to be where you can't have like any sort of, you can use the electronics, but you can't have any sort of like saved waypoints, because then you're on an even keel. You don't have cat astronauts. You don't have saved waypoints. You don't have spots that are marked. That's kind of why I respect monster. Or did I say monster bass? We were talking about that. Damn it! What the hell is it called? MLF. Good lord. That's kind of why I respect MLF, is because you don't have any of that. You don't have the pre-fishing. It's just go there, boom, fish. So will
yeah.
there be more of a move to that because of the rise in electronics? Like, well, you can spend your day doing that, but you got to go find the stuff. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I was, kind of thinking, we talked about this, a couple of lives back, maybe 3 or 4 lives back, about, is there going to be at some point in time a lure that's got a little camera in there, kind of like your camera you use ice fishing, Debo, where you can kind of cast it out there and, reel it in and see if there's anything following it. I know I've seen videos before, either on Instagram or YouTube or something like that, where usually it's pike, where they probably have like a bigger kind of S waver or jointed swim bait or something like that. You see the pike come up and look at it and then kind of back off and then comes back again and hits it. So like, is that going to be the concept of what happens in another 10, 20, 100 years of fishing technology? Like that's crazy to even start to think about what we could be looking at, or, you know, will be looking at in however many years.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Well, let's get to summer fishing. That's kind of my crazy updates. Hey, there's Baxter. I haven't talked to Baxter in a minute too. Hope you're well, brother. I never got to hit you up after speaking to you. I hope you're okay. I know your Instagram. I didn't get to talk to you after that, but so what I want to get into is, okay, everybody right now, I want to know, what is your favorite early morning topwater lure? And it's kind of like a love-hate relationship for me with early mornings, because I love, like absolutely love getting up super early. Um, but it's like, if you want to get anywhere, you have to get up at like 3 o'clock, and with kids and like stuff, it's hard. But I freaking love early morning fishing, getting up, getting on a morning topwater bite. So I want to know, let's see if we can get, I was going to upgrade and I fell asleep in the chair with Mr. Stubby Dog. I wanted to upgrade to the deal where you can do, I'll have to get with Rich on that and see, but I wanted to do the thing where you can upgrade and do like the, not posts, what the hell is it called? Polls, where you can
Poles.
do the polls. Yeah, I think that would be really fun just to get some numbers. So we got Buzzbait, Whopper Plopper, don't fish early mornings ever. Matthew, how come?
Wow.
Is that just, you just don't do it, or are you telling people don't fish early morning? Early morning topwater for me. Buzzbait. Ooh, I see a lot of buzzbait. Okay, okay. Spooks, popper, and I'm talking right now. I'm not talking early morning like any time of year. I'm saying like right now, and I know that's different for everybody around the of the country. Yeah, and Dustin, I know it does depend where you're at, but I'm just saying, like, if you're going out to a spot where you're not sure around right now, what are you going to pick up? Of course, it depends how clean is the water. Is there any wind? I'm just saying, all in all, if you're going to go out with a topwater lure, what are you picking up? For me, of course, everybody's going to know, oh, Debo's going to say a frog, right? The frog, of course, is such a good lure because so many of the lakes that we fish around here have grass, and unless you have
Mhm.
a boat, so that's one of the things that I've noticed fishing offshore the past couple days and fishing with Randy around here, is how much of uh, an impact grasslands have, that vegetation, because it really dictates what you can and can't hit and what's holding those fish. If it's all super shallow, and I'm not talking like, sparse stuff kind of here and there, like a couple pads. I'm talking like walls of dirty, vegetation-y. I don't know. I'm not good at all the names.
You can't throw anything that's got like a
Popper.
treble-y type of hook. You either need to be weedless, or a frog or something that will sit on top that doesn't have those exposed trebles.
Yeah, so the reason I put the question on, I was going through lures the other day, and I wanted to kind of start with the topwater because now I got to remember what box it was in. I was thinking, what are some old school things? Maybe I kind of need to switch some stuff up because, yeah, I'm going to go out with a frog, right? And a lot of people kind of have the same things that they'll tie on, and that's, just kind of what they throw. So I want to go over a couple older things that I used to throw and catch them on. One is a popper. I'm sure everybody knows a Rebel popper. I'm not going to show that because I honestly don't even know where that is. But one that I used to have a ton of success on was one of the first lures that I got 2 double ups on. So where I catch 2 fish on it, not once, but twice in the same year I did this. And it's also a lure that I don't really hear people talk about. Now I have to find the dang thing. You'd have thought Debo would have been ready with all these lures sitting out so we could have talked about it. If not, I will just bring it up on the web, which I don't think I do. Okay, well, scratch that plan. Let's go to the warehouse of tackle. We'll do it here so everybody can see it. You'll get a better picture.
Oh, it doubled up with my fish. Blah, blah, blah.
Oh, my name Randall. Hey, I like that you got the whole motif of the red, blue, retro. Retro still has, I think, one of the coolest symbols.
It really is
channels.
like probably one of the coolest hats ever. Like,
okay, so let's go.
Just something about it.
And I will share this with you all. Okay, I'm behind on comments. Let's see what we're talking about. Jitterbug. Oh, yeah, Mr. Bass. Absolutely. Dude, it always, I know I've told the story on here, but my buddy's farm pond, we used to go camp on it. His grandpa had like 150 cattle, hundreds of acres, and a huge pond. We'd go camp on it, ride 4-wheelers, and at night we would throw a jitterbug on that at dark. And man, all you could hear is plop, 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 plop. Rico Pop. Yeah, I've never got into the Ricos. Those are the expensive ones that Hank told me about. I hadn't even heard of them before him. So
I was gonna say my biggest, like, the best idea is like nighttime topwater, just like a buzz bait or something where you can still hear it. There's no way in hell that you're gonna be able to see it, but you can hear it, especially like a buzz bait, slow, just plop, 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 kind of similar thing. And then you hear that just explosion on it. And it's like you think somebody's going to come out the woods with a machete or something at you, but instead it's a big old fish on your lure.
Yeah, so we're talking old school. I mean, probably one of the most catchingest lures in the baby bass pattern. I guess they call it old bass. I want to say it was like used to be a baby bass pattern in the old ones, but a Rebel popper. I mean, if you've never thrown one, a popper is so cool because if you don't have grass, obviously they have treble hooks. If you don't have a bunch of grass, the cool thing about these is, and this is one of the lures that I was going to go into as the day goes on, but a popper is so cool because you can keep it there. You can keep it in that bite zone as long as you want almost. If you get with a real good limp line popping of that popper or just a, real quick bloop, 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 you can do a lot of action in just a short little, distance while you're moving that. So in the mornings, throwing this around, wood piles, like little laydowns, not necessarily the brushy stuff, but for me, like, the big solid logs laying there, taking it just down the side of that, blooping it. For whatever reason too, like riprap banks. I don't know if that's the norm, I guess, for poppers. Usually I think of them as like target, like a target topwater lure. For whatever reason, the lakes around here, the riprap banks, a popper. Same for a buzzbait. I don't think people think of a buzzbait as running it down riprap banks as much. I'm sure some people do, but the Rebel popper. Now, one here that I got, I forgot when these came out last year. A year ago, was the P71. A little bit bigger. I got to put this to use last year and really liked it. I actually had a subscribed fishing friend. I don't know if you're in here, and I forget his name because I'm a dummy. But he made a trip for me to go get this. I had snagged it across the lake, across the opening. We were bank fishing. And he rescued
made him.
me, so
you were like, "Oh, hey, go go smash your boat up against these your super nice like Ranger bass boat up against all these rocks in this 2-inch shallow water.
It's a little bit bigger. Yeah, the P71's a little bit bigger, a little bit larger profile, but I was still catching dinks on it. And yeah, it's like they're saying here, the P71 will produce a side-to-side walk the dog action deadly for schooling bass. So even when you're not targeting, necessarily like the schooling fish, walking one of these, they walk super easy along a riprap bank. If you haven't tried it, give it a try. Like the silver black back, I think is kind of the easiest go-to if you're only going to get one. It's hard to beat silver black. But I was using this one, this blue candy, kind of like a thread finish, gizzard shad imitation. Worked really well. I liked it a lot.
I,
So if you've
I
not
was
tried
just
those, give them a go. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I was looking at hula poppers because those were my kind of old school go-tos.
Hmm.
And I can't remember if a hula popper in was it frog white belly or just bass color was my go-to, but one of them, I want to say it might have been bass color. But that was my go-to jam. I was looking, they just pull up on Bass Pro Shop is yeah, either the white
Yes.
frog belly or the hula or the bass.
Pond killer. I mean, I think absolute pond killer. The thing I always hated about these is the cheap spinner baity skirt things. You'd leave them in your tackle
Oh
box
yeah,
all dry and crinkly and stuck and
stick to
the worst on
everything
those.
and yep.
But if you've never fished one of these, really, really big mouth, like bigger mouth than this P71, very large. Like you can see how it's flat. I don't know why I'm pointing at the screen, but you can see how it's a flat mouth. So it really like when you pop it, like you can get that real big bubble of broop, broop.
Yeah,
So it's good, real
huge bloop.
slow. Yeah. Good night, low light. Just because it moves so much water, makes so much noise. Not necessarily the one that I would fish still, just because it's so slow. Not to say it wouldn't work, but like I hate going slow now. So I think I'd probably reach for
Oh
like a
yeah.
popper where I could, go slow like that or walk it if I wanted.
I say yeah, I totally hate going slow, but I love throwing jigs.
And this guy can slowly drag a jig around and catch fish all day. So we were talking about the little jitterbugs too. Awesome little bait. Yeah, and this is something they only sell black now. They only have literally one color.
Really?
Oh no. What was I had like a black and yellow dotted one. Kind of
I've
is that the
had
bullfrog one? Yellow belly. And I had like a black
God,
and
what was it?
yellow dot
Mine
gray.
was primarily black and it had like stripes, half stripes down the sides with spots along the belly, I think.
Yeah, these are
Hmm.
cool. And there's a lot of lures that have adopted this kind of lip, right? You see, there's I forget, I think there's a Mega Bass one that has it. There's actually one here I know I have. Speak of another old school lure, the Buzz Plug, which I never ever had luck on, but it was like the early buzzbait slash whopper plopper kind of mix. I think I only fished one once, so I really can't say that I ever put time into them, to be honest.
What bait was
It's
that?
pretty cool too. The Arbogast Buzz Plug. If I can get it
Hmm.
out here. So this thing here, kind of a cool deal. It's got the buzzbait slash whopper plopper prop on the front, and it's just got the big old dually dangling hook in back.
Yeah, I told you. Well, I fished that one that had blade on the or propeller, whatever you want to call it, on the front and the
Oh, here it
back.
is. There's the lure. Can you see it? It's right there.
Dang, yep. I don't. I can't tell over my bleeding eardrums right now. Jeez,
Oh,
man.
sorry. I didn't even think of that. Thank you, Randy.
Ah, huh? Did you say something? I can't hear so much. Sorry, guys. I'll apologize for Debo right now because, man, that was kind of brutal. Oh, where'd he go? Oh, he's still trying to. Man, I tell you what. Everybody says you're still muted, Debo. If you're trying to talk right now. Everybody says to use like little rubber bands and things like that. I've actually gotten into, I don't have any in here, but they're like the little plastic treble hook covers. I use those things. Oh my Lanta. Yeah, that's that's a bait there, Debo. It looked like one of them was stuck in your arm there for a second, but
It did grab my arm. It's Lucky Craft. I don't even know what they call it, like walking Sammy, but it's got a jitterbug front piece and it's jointed. So as it goes, it's doing the jitterbug thing, and it's got like a jointed deal in back. I had a pike swipe it at once, but never caught anything else. And I apologize, everybody, for that loud. I didn't even think of that being right in your ears. Thank you, Randy. But the other one that I never ever really hear people talk about, and it was only on a Jacob Wheeler deal. That's probably been MLF 4 or 5 years ago. He was throwing a variation. Now they have a couple here. Let's see. And when we go look at some old, of course, Rapala's been around a long time. They've had a bunch of different iterations. I don't know if Bateman's still in here, but he's somebody that knows even way more on the old stuff than me. A few iterations of these kind of baits. Number one is going to be the Skidder Pop. If you've never fished one of these, really, really, really neat little lure. This was the first lure that I ever doubled up on twice. They don't even make the color that I have anymore. Mine's like a blue chrome orange belly. I thought I could have swore I sat that out because I don't want to get in everybody's ear again, but maybe it's this one. The Skidder Pop, really cool little lure. Never ever hear anybody talking about them. But you can see it's like a kind of a spin-off of a popper. It's got this little tiny plastic lip, but you'll notice when you look at it, built on a unique cup mouth and buoyant balsa body. So it's a balsa lure, highly buoyant, a little bit different look to it. It's not a hard plastic, very natural walk to it. So it's kind of like a walking bait mixed with like a little real natural popper. Never hear anybody talk about them. Oh, hey, speak of the old jitterbug. Yeah, I don't know where mine is. Mine was like a blue chromish look, I want to say. But anyway, the Skitter Pop. Really cool little bait. Give them a try if you never have. And number two is the Skitter Prop. Now, I've not actually caught a fish on the Skitter Prop. That was kind of a new one to me. I don't know, 4 years ago, probably about the same time. But again, balsa bait, really cool. That Rapala silver / black. And it's just a prop bait. I had old school prop baits back in the day. I showed that a long time ago, a black one. Couldn't remember who made it. Somebody knew it. But just a little prop bait, kind of like the precursor to the Whopper Plopper that we think of. Some of them had it on the front. Somebody was talking about like the Devil Horse, perfect example of a prop bait, right? Somebody was talking about the old school Rolla Martin. Yeah, right there, Paul, the Devil Horse. Devil Horse was not anything I ever threw, to be honest. I don't know if it was more of like a Southern Florida type thing that guys really, really got it, but really cool lure. Give them a check if you have not. So those are a couple lures that I don't hear people talk about. And the reason I was kind of going into some different stuff is throwing some of these things, that people aren't necessarily throwing, going back to kind of an old school walk on a popper, because you go out these days and you see not as much now, but there for a while, everybody was throwing a Whopper Popper, right?
mm-hmm.
And, some people were talking about, has it lost its gusto? They still work, and I still like them for certain occasions. I think they will catch the snot out of fish, but I don't think there's anything wrong with going back to kind of some cool new different little lures.
Yeah, that's a big thing in Depot. We've talked about this time and time again. It's like, is this lure, is it done? Is it over with? Is it overfished and things like that? And then you try to throw something different. Like, I know we've talked about where I was like, oh, I tried a Whopper Plopper back in the day and it never worked, and then we went back to it and we caught them like crazy 5 years back. And same thing for me when it comes to like a chatterbait. Like, when chatterbaits, I'll say, first came out around here, that was probably 15 plus years ago. I was using a ton of them and they caught them like crazy. And then I felt like, after a while, it kind of, fell off. And So it's kind of just something to, just look at the ground and look what packages people, throw on the ground after they're done tying new lures on, and don't use that.
Yeah, don't use whatever they threw away there. And another thing, sorry, that I was going to go into. So as the day transitions on, you get up super early at 4:30. You get on the water at what's sunrise now, 5:30, 5:25, something like that.
Ish, yeah.
As the sun is coming up, it's starting to get hot. You're going to have shade lines, and for me, one of the favorite things, if I'm not throwing a frog in those shade lines or under little overhangs, spots where there's still shade, you can still get on a topwater bite even when that sun's up on one side of the lake. You can go over to that other side where you've got those shade lines, those spots where there's overhangs, and still catch topwater fish. So don't put the topwater away just because the sun comes up. That can still be the deal following those spots around. So
Or
that
like
is
you
one
said,
tip.
how you talked about earlier is the weed lines too. If you have
Yeah,
something not
sure.
necessarily a weed line, but more like a lily pad line, where your pads are really prominent, say from the middle to
Absolutely.
the left or the middle to the right, vice versa, whatever. You just throw it right on that pad line, and that's the exact same thing as like an overhang or just a shady area. It gives the fish a spot to get out of the heat, and they're still really active. So
Yeah, especially now, especially when you start to see that post spawn. And I know some of the country is going to be kind of past this, but that post spawn period where bass are going to be up eating bluegill, feeding shallow, man, hitting them with a popper, or like I was actually throwing floating jerk bait on the edges of those pads, on the edges of those grass up in Minnesota. And I caught, I don't know, it was like every other cast there for a while, literally working that jerk bait right inside those pads and coming just out of it. And those fish were just cruising right along this outside of
yeah.
that. Um, so that's another good way to stay on them as the sun comes up. So, and that's kind of something that was pounded into my head why I wanted to bring it up, because it's like, oh, sun's up, top water's done, right? Put top water
Hmm.
away as soon as the sun comes up, but you can still stay on them, So then we're going to kind of get into that. So that's the summer heat. We talked the top water. Sun starts coming up. What do you do? I want to know, like, what is your normal thing to go to when, let's even say it's kind of a tough day of fishing. Maybe you've got just a little bit of ripple on the water. It's not dead calm, stagnant, 1,000 degrees, because I think offshore is probably your best bet. And I am not the best offshore guy then, deeper humps,
Hmm.
ledges. That's not my deal. But when it's a decent day, it might still be hot, but you have a little bit of wind or maybe just a little bit of cloud cover. What's your next move? I want everybody to let me know. What is your next move on days like that where it's hot, it's summer like this? Maybe you had a few topwater bites. It seemed like it was pretty good. Where are you going next? There's
God,
one
we've
thing that
had
I always turn to, actually kind of two things, but really it's my kind of second favorite way to fish. And the sun is actually going to play to your advantage, because as that sun comes up, it's going to do something to those fish. So I want to know. Peak of summer, giant
oh
weighted Texas rig, big old worm. I feel you there, brother.
yeah, I was just gonna say I just saw that comment. I feel like that is your go-to. I know we've had lots and lots and lots of days where it's been, you know, God, we start early in the morning where you have that mist or that fog coming up off the water and stuff like that, and hit the top water super early, and then yeah, usually transitions into some kind of like Texas rig or weighted rig somewhere along those lines. You like to go big. I don't necessarily like that big of a, that really kind of intimidates me to throw a really big worm or things like that. So some sort of Texas rig is usually where I'm going to go at that point in time. Obviously, kind of fits into my whole, jig liking abilities, but um, God, I don't even know. There's so many different options, and it really just, oh God, what now?
Lazy Ike. Oh, James just asked, hey, does anybody still make the Lazy Ike? I've got a bunch of Lazy Ikes. I don't think in this box, but yeah, they used to be made here in Iowa. The Lazy Ike was. What
Yep.
was that? Was it Fort Dodge, or where was that?
I
I
think it
forget what
was
that
Fort
factory was
Dodge.
at, but yep, I do have a bunch. I don't think anybody makes them, but I think the flatfish, whoever makes the flatfish, is what everybody else calls them. I don't know if those are still made, but I had never heard of the flatfish because we always called them Lazy Ikes here. That's a good question, James. Another good old school one. Mojo rig. We've got Carolina rig. How do you fish deep water with a boat? That's a good question. Unless you've got like a big drop off or something where you can hit some kind of deep fish, I think it's tough. I think, if you're fishing deep stuff, you pretty much have to have a boat. And, deep is relative to where you're at, but
Exactly, yeah. I mean, usually finding those differences, not I mean, deep is deep regardless, but if there's deep with, like you were talking earlier, Debo, about the live scope type of deal, if there's like some sort of contour change, a log or riprap or rocks or whatever it may be, I mean, that's really what you're kind of looking for, you know?
yep. So for me, as the sun starts to go up, I think kind of a bunch of people nailed, and I think watch, I guess, my channel because they know my second favorite thing next to frog fishing is flipping and pitch and cover. And I know that the bite can get really tough, during the summer. The fish, I don't know if it's necessarily that they're, people say, well, they don't want to move. They're just big, fat, lazy animals. They're going to eat. They're going to eat no matter what. But I think they're going to eat at opportune times. And one of the opportune times is when something comes right in front of their face, right? So as the sun comes up, fish aren't just going to be sitting out in the middle of nothing, baking in the sun. We'll often push them into cover. And I mean, that's again going to be relative to where you're at. That could be docks, up in the north, up in where I was fishing Minnesota. Every place had docks. There were docks literally everywhere. It was insanity because I don't get to do that very much. Or
Mhm.
marinas, if you fish that way. For me, I'm wood, brush, lay downs, and literally those fish will get nose up to it and just hang out there.
Yeah,
So
I
in
once
the
heard
summer,
find wood, pitch to wood. I've heard
find
that once or
wood,
twice.
pitch to wood. But the thing that I really want to stress with that is work on your accuracy and work on getting as
Mhm.
close as you can to it. So whether you like fishing a jig, whether you like fishing a fluke, a wacky rig, weightless Texas rig, whatever it is that you like to fish. For me, it's going to be some sort of flipping bait. So we were talking about, a big worm, 8-10 inch worm. Love throwing those. A flipping bait like a reaction innovations, sweet beaver, like a beaver style bait or like a missile baits D-bomb. I don't think I have any here, but something without a lot of appendages. Even like a big worm will get hung up kind of in some of that brushy, fingery stuff.
You know, Devo, I think you said it the best is regardless of what you're trying to fish to, that time of year, like super hot summer days, is all about accuracy. And I know we've told this story 100 times before, but one of the first times that we've ever hung out, in the basement when it wasn't quite as cluttered as what it was now, we went down there and you had a rod with a jig tied on and a little bucket over in the corner. And you're like, I used to go down every day and just pitch to this, pitch to it, pitch to it. Just something as simple as that, trying to get your pitches down and making sure that you're, at least somewhat accurate when it comes to, throwing to a specific target is super key. And I know there was another day where you and I think it was maybe around 4th of July, where we got done fishing and we went back to my place and I pulled out a bucket and we stood in the garage and we pitched to it,
Yep.
out in the
To
driveway.
little flower pots, and we had we started making a bet, and then of course it turned into a competition who could flip and pitch better. So then we were out there for an
Sure,
hour flipping and
exactly.
pitching, which
Yeah.
is fun.
But yeah, it's
But yeah,
super important to be able to be accurate.
work on your accuracy on those hot days. And what I mean by that is like, so for example, I always talk about the crotch of a tree, right? So if you come to a lay down, there's a big tree, and that very first part where it comes down on the tree and it like kind of V's out into the two big pieces, for whatever reason, it always seems like there's a fish right there in the crotch of that tree. I don't know why, but I'm not talking about throwing it like a foot or 2 feet from the crotch of that, or
No.
if there's a good log just where you see it coming down, getting dark. I'm not talking about 3 feet off of it, or some of that little buckbrush type, those little bush things. Not flipping and pitching 2 feet out from it. I'm talking get in the heart of it, because those bass are going to be up in the shade, nose up on that stuff. And if you ever go to like Bass Pro, um, or you go to like I don't know, the fishing seminar things where they have the fish in the big tanks. Look at them. Look at where the fish are in there. You've got some swimming around, but a lot of them will be literally right there, nose up on that cover. They
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 get
have
really
something to
tucked in.
relate to feel safe. Yeah, it's you have to think if I'm walking around in your house and you're going to jump out and grab me or scare me, what are you going to do? Are you just going to be standing out in the middle? Maybe, I guess, but you're going to be on a wall, hiding, hanging out. So I really, really stress that accuracy and getting as close as you can to stuff, because it really will make a difference. And don't be afraid to throw multiple times. I'm not just saying find a log and throw it to it once and say, oh, nothing there. Try to hit as far back of it, try to hit the side, wherever you think those fish will be, throw to it a few times if you feel confident in that piece of cover, and really try to work it over.
It's just like, I know there was one day, Debo, that you and I were out fishing, and I think you had a big, like, Miyagi type swim bait, and there was a log that you could see maybe 6 to 18 inches of it in the water, and you threw to it once or twice or things like that, and nothing hit. And then that third time you ran it extra close to the log, slowed it down a little bit, and brought it up, and you got smacked as you were bringing it up right next to the log. So
yeah, bumping it, hitting it.
Yep, definitely.
Okay, what else do we have for questions? We're at 45 minutes. I couldn't believe that when I just looked up at time. What do you all have for questions? We're going fun conversation. I wasn't even paying attention to the time. What do you all have for questions? I'm going to open it up. I'm going to try to look at what we've got going here. Go back just a little bit. Spencer said, I suck at pitching. Dude, it's literally like anything else. Just practice, man, for sure. People always like, oh, bait casters are stupid. Anybody that uses it, it's a waste of time. Literally, it's just practice, just like anything else.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to really pitch anything. It's not just a jig or like a weightless, or a weighted Texas rig or something like that. Pitch anything. Pitch a crankbait. Pitch a spinner bait. Pitch anything. Just give it a shot. Try it. Practice. Keep doing it.
Maybe not a crankbait when you're starting. Grabbing two trebles, a little dangerous.
Touche. Maybe hold it by the bill.
Let's see. Braden, what is everyone's big worm besides the old monster? Everyone's favorite, I guess. Favorite is a key word there. Everybody's favorite big worm besides the old monster. Berkeley, I just actually got some of those. Old man.
Oh, geez. Did you fall down right then?
No, I was moving all the crap that was next to me here. The Berkeley Power Worm. This was smells like dead crawdads. And that was a super good listen. As I was driving up to Minnesota, I binged the Tackle Talk podcast stuff. I think his name's Andrew. I believe Andrew Hayes, I want to say. Is that right? But he was on Fishing with Gramps' channel. I'd never heard of him before. I don't listen to podcasts. I'm not a podcaster. So it was really cool. He seems like a very informative dude. I've never ever talked to him except for that night on Gramps'. I followed him after that. So I was listening to some Burley stuff, and then I brought up the tackle thing because I saw he had a 4-part series on tackle making. So he had one where he talked to Ott Defoe, making the OG Slim, the flat-sided crankbaits. One talking to Big O, Terry Parks from Strike King. One from the dude from Beast Coast, I forget his name. And then one from, I forget the gentleman's name as well, but who worked at Berkeley Power Bait and started down the whole rabbit hole of scent. Such a cool listen. Like, I really had second thoughts about all of my lures after listening to him. Now, of course, he works for Berkeley, and he talked solely about how they went down the line of Berkeley baits and the Berkeley Power Bait and the new and the pink one, what's it called? You'd think I actually fish. Not the Power Bait, but the Power. I've got some here.
Like the what is that?
This stuff. The Maxent. There we go. Maxent's name of it. Oh my gosh.
That was not
off here.
The route I was going to, but yeah.
Top of my knees got burnt. Help me. Okay, but anyway, he was talking about the whole journey of going down this to make the Maxent, because I didn't know. I don't fish the other stuff, but the gulp plastics, they will completely disintegrate. They completely disintegrate in the water. Like the scent is infused in them, and it's like a super long release, like a quick release, I guess, of the stuff, but it's built into it and keeps, I guess,
Yeah, I
disintegrating
know.
into the
I mean,
water.
have you ever run across not necessarily a Senko, but a Senko type worm that's been in the water for an excessive amount of time that maybe broke off and you pulled it in, and it goes from like a 6-inch Senko to a 10-inch Senko that's
It's
double in
all
width?
fat and waterlogged.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy where the Gulp Alive stuff doesn't do that. It actually disintegrates or whatever you want to call it, dissipates,
Yeah, but that was a really good
emulsifies.
listen. I would say go check out the Tackle Talk podcast. Like I said, I'm not a podcaster. I really don't ever listen to them, but dude, it was such a good way to kill time, and listen to those guys was really, really good stuff. So go check them out. But Power Worms, Braden are another big one to check out.
I honestly,
I
I
don't know what
really
else did
have
everybody
gotten
say.
into the clout, the Sixth Sense clout.
Oh,
Their stick
the
bait
stick bait.
type of, yeah. That's I've had a lot of luck on. God, what color is it? I want to say it's just the no, it's not black and blue. Oh, it's the bluegrass magic, I believe. Bluegrass
Bluegrass
magic.
Magic. Well, we can go look it up here real quick.
Yeah, that was how I kind of got into, or what kind of made me get more into the free rig last year, or was it last year or the
Free
year before? One of the two.
last year.
Um, Last year, yeah. So I think that was the color. If you want to share, you're not sharing right now.
Oh, whoops. Yeah, I was looking for it still. Thank you, Randall.
Yep, no problem. But yeah,
Mhm.
that was
And it
my
was what
go-to to
color?
really. I want to
Bluegrass
say this
Magic.
is, yeah, that's what I'm seeing here. That's on the
Since we're
Sixth
looking
Sense
at
web.
clouds, I'll give you my two favorites. My two favorites in Six Sense are Dark Water Bug, black and purple. Go figure. They have some really good
Hmm.
colors.
They
And
do.
then it's like the super bug ish color that they call Nirvana, black and blue, green pumpkin.
They have what is it? I was throwing the other day, was it the Stroker Craw in a,
I haven't
I,
thrown any of the
God,
other
it was,
plastics.
it was the Bluegrass Magic again. I think the Craw was the one that really kind of piqued my interest because the pictures online don't do it any justice. There is a definitive line between a really dark and a really kind of sky light baby blue color on the other side. I thought those things looked amazing,
Oh, this?
especially for around here. Yeah, yep,
Yeah, they have cool colors. Some
they definitely
cool
do.
colors. Okay, let's see. Where else are we going down the rabbit hole of questions? Max. Oh, yeah, Maxent General. Crappy Kev. Yep. I forgot it was
Oh,
called Maxent. See, and I don't think the
trick
Maxent stuff
worms.
stinks. People like there's the things of like people opening up and saying, "Oh, it stinks so bad." Like
Yeah.
I will smell this all day over the power bait. Let me
There's
just open this up.
nothing worse than G crack though.
This doesn't smell anywhere near as bad. I don't think at all.
Ooh,
Like,
give me some Rage coffee though.
oh, the best man. The
I'll
burly
live on
hype
that.
man was driving the struggle bus. Clout tears up too quickly for me, but love the colorways in action. Yeah, and that's kind of the trade-off. We've talked about that before. Like some of the really good ones with that good kind of soft, supple action do tear up. It's kind of the
See, I
trade-off, you know.
haven't. I've had worse, worse experiences with other soft plastics than what I have for that. But again, that's just what I've kind of experienced. I know I've had 5, 6 fish on one lure versus another lure that Devo is probably going to bring up right now. But you pitch one of those in and you lose it after it touches a blade of grass.
Hey, speaking about lures, yeah, Sixth Sense thought Dizzle was a Googan man. Yeah, Michael. I was wondering, Randall, did you pre-order those new Googie reels? I saw they have bait casters coming out. Did you order
Whoa, whoa! Let's pause this for a quick second. I've heard nothing to the fact of Googie having a reel.
That's because you
Can
never answer or follow anything on Instagram. Why
I?
do you
Okay,
why do you
that's a
why do you not
valid
ever
point.
answer people? You and I were
When
both tagged
who
in
did
the story of
anything?
it.
Where? When? Who? What? Where? Why? When? What?
Randy's the worst. If you guys ever hit him up on Instagram, he's the worst at replying to you.
Eesh.
So,
Yeah.
okay, Jim, need to pay more attention as to where the fish was, etc., rather than the bait color you were using. Dude, that's one that I completely have changed stances on. So go back, let's just say go back to talking about the log. Let's say I have some sort of superpower. DEBO'S superpower is being able to see 3D in the water where every single fish is at. And let's say you and I walk up to a log, and my superpower, I can see the fish there. Is it going to matter if you throw a 10-inch worm versus a flipping bait versus a baby brush hog versus a lot of the times, number one, I don't think the bait matters in certain situations. If it's just a weighted Texas rig dropping down, a lot of the times I don't think it matters. And a lot of the times I don't think the color matters in those situations. I think
You
it's a
know, part of me
confidence thing.
thinks it's more well, confidence is a big part of it, but placement of it as well is, you know,
Yeah.
we've
Yep.
harped on that
Yeah.
in the crotch and all that stuff, but like you could be 100% confident in a bait and then, you know, hate another bait because, you know, you broke it off or ripped off or whatever, and you know, put a different bait on and you happen to just throw that perfect cast and it gets smoked. I think, you know, placement is super key combined with confidence in it too.
Yep. And we've seen situations. I mean, there was a day that this was kind of the whole day that it really like blew our lids of, and I just said that because I saw cooler lid, and it blew our tops, and I said lid, but lose. I don't know what the lose was. We were throwing two completely different color chatterbaits. Randy was throwing like a more of a translucent bluegill, and it was in pretty
Oh
dirty
yeah.
water. And I was throwing a sexy shad Z-Man, like a white chartreuse. It was the Project Z. I don't know what the color was. But I mean, I outfished him 10, 11 to 1. Like I had
Oh,
caught,
that's
I don't know, 14 and you caught maybe 1. And there was a point where I was almost calling my shots on the edge of the grass. And there was one I'm like, let's cast these together and see if we can catch a fish. He casts and I cast literally right next to him. We're bringing it in and I catch a fish. So, you know, maybe it could have been the Project Z versus the regular chatterbait that he was throwing. I personally don't think so in that situation. I think it was a color deal. So I'm not saying always. I'm not saying like every time color doesn't matter, but I think there are a lot of situations where color's not that big of a deal, and even like the lure-ish like type doesn't matter. So I don't know, but not always. Definitely not always. I'm in spots where I think the color does matter, and I think the lure action does matter. But anyone mess with the mock lures? I have not. That's the Strike King spinoff, right? Lose Strike King, the kicking the bass lures, I think, right? He was
you want to
promoting them or
pull them
whatever.
up?
I don't know where they're at.
Okay.
To be honest, I don't even know where you'd buy them. Let's see if we can find some here. Hold on.
Mock lures. If you're gonna
Mock.
share, make sure you're still sharing.
Yeah, I was just gonna go Google it real quick.
You're
Mock
Google.
lures. Lose mock lures.
Debo, Google. Nerd.
Feel the difference. Mock Smash. Dicks? Are they exclusive to Dicks?
It's so funny. Like I get all of these ads for Dick's around like where I'm at, Waterloo. We have a Dick's here, but they have zero fishing. Even though they have a section, they
Yeah,
have
a
a
lot of them
section
took
that
fishing
still
out.
looks like fishing. And like I think you go back there and you're like, oh, this looks like a fishing area, and you're like, oh, actually no, it's hiking boots
Oh
or
yeah, Grant said yeah.
some stupid stuff.
That's really interesting. So Lou's made a special line of lures. I don't know. I think these were in conjunction with what's his name?
Junction.
Kicking the bass or whatever. So I don't know. I don't know anything about this. That's really weird that they would make their own line of lures and only launch them at Dick's. I don't know.
Are
I don't know how all that
those,
marketing stuff works, but they've got
is that a
like
soft plastic or a
poppers.
hard plastic?
I think it was just a
The
hard plastic jointed bait. Man,
Oh,
they
a
look pretty
swim bait,
cool.
yeah.
I like
Yep.
the eyes, how they did the mock M in the eyes. That's actually pretty
Yep.
sick. Yeah, I know
I knew
nothing
a
about
dude that
these.
had like on the eyes it said like Debo in them once.
Yeah,
That was
that's
pretty
pretty
cool.
cool. Yeah, they come with Mustad triple grips. I like that because whoa, $14 though for one. Damn.
Yeesh,
They're a little expensive.
just
They
a
look cool
little.
though. Yeah, I don't know. So I don't know anything about them, man. I heard of them on Instagram, but oh, good call, Grams. I didn't even think about that. Luz appears to trying to to compete in the Googie space. Okay, interesting. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
Talking about dicks though, which I didn't know. If we go take a trip down Hickory Dickory Dock Lane, I found out that this is, speaking of colors, a color that I do have confidence in that I think does make a
Oh,
difference.
geez, here we go.
What? I know I think
I
we
have
talked
no
about this
idea.
last live. People are probably
Dude,
sick
go
of me
ahead.
talking about it, but it's gooseberry. This used to be the trick worms, which I think they still are. The trick worms were a Dick's exclusive,
Do you ever have an issue
but
with like referring to it as that? Like I just say, hey, if I'm going to this place, I'm going to uh, DSG, going to DSG. For whatever
uh,
reason, I just have a weird time saying,
no, it
oh,
doesn't
I'm going to
bother me.
go,
They're the ones
I'm
that
going to
named it, not
Dick's,
me.
bro.
So I don't know. That's their bad, not mine. But I did notice that they as in Zoom, does make. I think we checked here last time. I feel like this is a conversation we had last time. I'm going down the same rabbit hole, but for anybody that doesn't
Oh,
know,
your gooseberry, yeah.
yeah,
And oh,
gooseberry.
you bought out all that they had at the Googie shop of a gooseberry related color, right?
No, I did see that you got a whole crate of Googie lures delivered to your house, though, which is crazy. So I actually bought lures. I bought
Lures
lizards
Googies.
that I
That's what
wanted to
you
throw. I bought
have you
four
got that
packs of these,
new
the
Googie
gooseberry.
lizard yet?
Didn't know they had a
You probably
lizard.
got the
No,
prototype, didn't you?
you're so
Still in the
stupid.
testing phase.
And I think the brush hogs actually had gooseberry too. Oh, look at they're so good. Okay, anyway, let's get back to questions.
Yeesh.
Sorry,
Yeah.
we deviate from the questions and the fun talk.
God,
Let's
I
see.
gotta get back to the
So
chat
what else
here.
we got for
Let's see.
questions? Bombard me with questions. Give me your summer fishing
Um,
questions. I am not an expert, but I love talking about it, and it sparks some really good conversation in the chat to help other people out. And I actually had, I forget what his name was, uh, Rick. I want to say Rick, who messaged me after the last live and said it was really cool watching you interact with people. Essentially them giving their feedback. So if you're ever watching these and just thinking like, oh, it doesn't matter if I ever comment or or whatnot, you might be helping somebody else out, because I forget what it was that Rick said that I'd never thought of this. He said, I'm going to try that. Like that, I think that would work really well around me. So, that's the thing is, if we can help each other out, give ideas, run back and forth with stuff. And let's see, Jim said, my point, Debo, if you base your confidence on needing the right bait in the right color, your confidence will not exceed 50%. Yeah, it's a good take. So thinking that you're never going to get to that 100% point because you're always worried about, I don't think I have the right color, I don't think I have the exact right bait, as opposed to, I know there's a fish here, it doesn't matter what the hell I'm throwing at it, if I throw it this enough, it's going to eat it, type thing. That's a good point.
yeah, I mean, the big thing is just having confidence in yourself. I knew, for a long time, Debo, there was the one place that we would go to with those jetties. There was like the cabin jetty we always walk down to. Like for the longest time, I had the confidence in me. It didn't matter what the conditions were outside. I could take a jig and I could catch a fish there regardless. And something happened. I don't know when it happened or why or what or how. Like something got into my head that, man, this is super tough. This fishing is, I got to try something different. I got to try this or that. And it really, for the longest time, I went there and I would catch a fish literally every single time because I was that confident. And now I'm just like, man, I got to try throwing something else. It's like half the time I'm like, I'm not even going to take a jig rod because I want to take an X, Y, or Z rod and not even worry about that. So it's the confidence is really one of the most important things that you could have when it comes to fishing overall.
Absolutely. Yep. Pike and tackle. Any tips on walking baits? I don't know if you hit enter too quick, but I think you were going to say never had confidence or, oh, there we go. Never know when to reach for them. Yeah, I'm like that with a few baits. Wake baits, for example. There's never a time where I'm like, and we've talked about this on other lives, that I'm like, man, today looks like a really good wake bait day. I think, man, for me, topwater walking baits, it kind of goes twofold. Number one, I mean, the biggest time is if you notice bass chasing bait. So you see like little splashes where they're, and this doesn't have to be deep schooling bass. You can see them kind of in the pads, especially like where me and Randy were at, what I'm talking about. These bass were absolutely obliterating bluegill. If you were a bluegill family in that lake, there's a good chance that one to all of your family members were not coming home that night. It was just bluegill onslaught. Like it was crazy. Like
I
you could
just
see these little
envisioned
bluegill like trying to get away, then boom, 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 boom.
I just
crush 'em.
envisioned a dad bluegill with like a fedora on and a briefcase and a blazer swimming off to work, and
Yeah.
I'm not.
See you after work, kids. Nope. Old Billy Bass got him. So in that case, you couldn't have thrown a walking bait because it was all vegetation, right? So these fish were up shallow chasing them. But there's other times where they're around wood, around laydowns. Anytime you see them chasing those bluegill up in their shallow, you can throw a walking bait or a popper. I think kind of a popper is more of the, I would say kind of the summer thing that people throw for that. But a walking bait, I guess kind of the ways that I differentiate those two is a walking bait, I can cover water. I can sling a big one of these. This is one of my top, if not my top favorite walking baits of all time. Top 2 or 3. KVD Sexy Dog, the big one. I like the big
The big one.
4.5 inch, something like that. You can
Yep.
just cover a ton of water. Casts easy. It casts like an absolute rocket. So more in the
Hey,
fall.
real quick,
Yeah.
what do you have to do with those baits before you can throw one? Is there something you have to add to them or should add to them to get a better walking
Like a
motion?
split ring. Yeah, I don't know why they
Yes.
don't come with split rings on them. That's kind of a baloney. A split ring costs what, 10 cents? Like,
And
come
not
on,
even.
Strike King. Don't be losers.
Like a pack
Put
of a
put
dozen maybe
split
for
ring on
10
there.
cents.
Oh, they're like, well, you can tie a loop knot. I don't like loop knots. I just want a stupid split ring on there. Anyway, which really surprises me because Strike King does really well at putting like the oval split rings on their crankbaits, right? They're the ones that do that, I think. But anyway,
Yeah, I
so
think so.
fall, like for me, fall, cover in water when bass are eating bait fish in the fall, I absolutely love a topwater walking bait. But I mean, I've caught them in the summer. There was a year, that's been maybe 3 or 4 years ago now, probably 4 years ago. I was in the John boat. It was a calm morning, right? So these don't have a ton of action. I was throwing a little Super Spook, Head and Super Spook, which was one of my other top favorites. Smaller, a little bit tinier profile. Actually, I was just looking through when I was talking about baits. Oh, here it is. So this was one of my hand painted. That's going to be really loud. Sorry, hold on.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that was a good thing that you paused that real quick there, or muted, I should say. While he's getting that, let's see here. Personally, I'm not a big walking bait guy, but I do know the one biggest thing is when you're throwing a walking bait, you shouldn't be using a fluorocarbon. A mono works probably the best. A braid is not going to do very good whatsoever. You're usually going to get hooked up on wrap around your lures. So a mono is probably your go-to when it comes to any type of walking bait. Debo, would you agree?
Yeah, braid is okay to use. Just use a mono leader. Braid
Yeah.
casts really well and stuff. But yeah, and the reason for that is, like Randy was saying, braid is so limp that braid will tend to kind of sag in the front and you'll get it caught in the front hook. But if you run just even, I mean, a couple foot leader, you don't have to go anything too crazy. I used to run like 5 or 6 foot, of a mono leader. That mono sticks out. It's more not limp. What's the word I'm
A
looking
little
for?
more taut
Taut. Yeah,
or
it's like a stiffer, I guess. A little
stiffer.
stiffer
Yep.
and it sticks out. But pike and tackle, hopefully that helps. That was kind of a all around the bush talking about walking baits, but covering water. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Like 4 years ago with that Head and Zara spook, small spook. Okay, so it doesn't move a lot of water. It's not real intrusive. It's not real loud. It was a pretty calm, slick morning, and I was just walking it around, you couldn't see them, or you couldn't see it up, but like the edges of grass lines, it didn't actually grow all the way up to the top, so you could throw treble hook baits along those grass lines and along logs. And I absolutely killed them that morning on a topwater walking bait. So really, anytime that you think topwater could work, give it a try. It mimics little bait fish running. Can get them going. So
Christopher just asked, maybe a couple of minutes, not even a minute ago, how long of a leader are you talking about? Personally, for me, I use a leader that's about as long as what my rod is. So if it's like a 7-foot rod, I'll probably put about a 7-foot leader on there, and then break off, and then be pissed off and just throw straight braid after that. But Debo, you'd probably be able to answer a little bit better than that.
yeah, really anywhere a couple foot to 6-7 feet, just so that the leader knot doesn't go down into your reel. So between
Yeah.
the front of your reel, and like usually within that first guide somewhere in there, depending on how long your rod is, but just so that the leader knot does not go down into your reel, because that'll create a lot of problems with that heavier line. Let's see. It just skipped forward again. Damn it. I hate it when it does that. Let's see. So if I go back, okay, here we go. How do I sub? TS. If you check out any of my videos, I don't know if the live has it. Some people had issues. If you're on a phone, it doesn't show it. You should be able to go to any one of my videos, and like right below where you see like the video title, and like where you would hit the like button, where you'd smash the thumbs up or all that. There's like a button there that says join.
Yep, I'm looking at it right now. It looks like, oh yeah, so it's going to be, you're going to have your subject title, or the heading title, and you'll see your logo and subs and all that. And then right over to the right, next to subscribe and bell, there should be an option right there to join. And personally, for me, it worked better on my computer versus my phone, but I know others have said it works just fine on their phone as well.
Yeah, Rob, there's two, I think they're brothers that split up. There's Mills Fleet Farm, and then Blaine's Farm and Fleet, kind of two
Yep.
different deals. They're like the same thing, but yeah, we have one too. They do have a really good selection of fishing stuff around here.
Debo, right now, which one are you? Are you a Fleet Farm, or are you a Farm and Fleet kind of guy?
I don't know that. I don't remember the differences, the ones that I went to.
I'm a Blaine's guy. Blaine's Farm and Fleet. Fleet Farm for me, I think I talked to you about that one time. I went down looking for a flasher. I drove down an hour down to where you are, because their website said, yeah, they had the flasher that I wanted. And
you can't really blame that on the company. That's just like a dumb person that didn't do their job and look stuff up. So,
but then you look at, never mind. I'll leave it at that. Yeah, I'm a
we'll leave it at that.
Farm and
Okay,
Fleet guy.
Mr. Randall Soley, the higher price combo, is it best to invest, or what higher price combo is it best to invest in? So is it better to invest money into better gear for like frogging, cranking, drop shot, etc.? Hey, there's Mr. Stubbins dog coming to say hi. You want to say hi to all these nice people? Mr. Stubby dog, we were just sleeping in the chair.
Stubbies.
Get up here and say hi to everybody. He's the bestest, snuggliest, good dog. So I always say, whoa, watch out there, Stubby dog. I always say anything where you need to have a better feeling. So that could be a jig. Like I think a Texas rig rod, when you're flipping and covering stuff, because a lot of times you won't feel that good hard hit. You'll just kind of feel like a little dink and see your line start to move. Something like your Ned rig, drop shot, shaky head, anything where you're trying to feel that finesse bite. Top water, I would never say top water to go super expensive. I mean, unless it's a thing where you want something really light, like if it's a deal where maybe you have I don't know, arthritis, or whatever it is, where you just don't want to be holding a big heavy combo, then it makes sense, because that's usually one of the things. Better components as you get up in higher price. Usually weight, you're going to pay for lighter gear as you go up in price.
Mm-hmm.
And even kind of some different gear that may be more comfortable for you. So, but I would say anything where you really, really need to feel the bite, like moving baits and stuff, like if I'm throwing a chatter bait, or, like a spinner bait. I even don't go super expensive in that stuff, because you're pretty much going to feel the bite most of the time.
When I look at my rods and combos and things like that, I'm gonna say primarily The majority of mine are those moving bait rods. So like a crankbait rod. I know I have a couple of St. Croix primarily crankbait rods or moving bait rods that are higher end versus I will say there is a big difference between a higher end rod and a actually usable rod, because if you get into like a super cheap rod, going back to that frog rod that I was using that was just a broomstick, that thing was terrible. It's horrible. It's more of not the dollar amount, it's how the rod feels itself.
Yeah, and that was speak of another good live to listen to. Go listen to Rich Hellabass for y'all that know or may not know him. Go look up Hellabass's YouTube channel. Really nice guy. I was talking about him earlier. But anyway, he had Gary Dobbins on, and of course, Gary Dobbins was talking about Dobbins rods. But I felt that conversation was really cool because I didn't feel like he was trying to sell you on the stuff. Like it wasn't, oh, Dobbins rods are the best. Dobbins rods, Of course, he was talking about Dobbins rods, but he gave his thought process and kind of reasoning behind everything as he was talking. And the big thing he brought up was balance. So I know Randy's a guy that likes to get his hands on stuff before he buys it. He's not a big internet shopper. And it makes sense because there are some combos that you just put it in your hand and it melds to it. The balance point's right. And even though that combo might be heavier than this combo that's $200 more, if this one balances, it can feel better and it can feel lighter. So I know it's not always an option to get your hands on stuff, but that's kind of another thing to think about is the balance.
I'm a huge hands-on, a feel type of guy. I know there's been a couple of combos that you've handed to me that I was like, oh, this is the reel's on the wrong side of the handle's on the wrong side of the reel here. What's going on? And then I give it a cast and it's just butter. It's perfect. It just feels supple where I wouldn't have thought that would happen. So for me, it's
and another thing. Yeah, yep. And another thing for reels, especially if you get into some of the higher priced reels, they're a lot better at casting like lighter lures better. So there's like, a lot of the $100 reels are good at casting, a 3/8 ounce lure, right? That's pretty easy, right? But you get up to like let's say the Daiwa Tatula 100, it's like 100 and I don't know. I think the price went up $160 or whatever, but cast light lures really well. Then you can get up to some of the more expensive Shimano's Metania, this type of stuff. But that's another reason to maybe think about something if you've got kind of more of a specialty, deal that you're trying to cast. Oh, there's Gramps. Just tie a loop knot. LOL. No, I don't want to tie a loop knot.
I think you missed a donation there, Debo.
Potentially. Oh, did I skip past or did I not get to it?
Maybe you haven't gotten to it yet. No, you probably haven't gotten to it yet.
Pennsylvanian? Yeah. Okay. Nope, I have not got there. Let me go back.
Yeah, my bad.
Where was I at? Nope, thank you for pointing it out. I don't want to miss any of those. Creaking trails. Do you guys find certain style jig heads work better around wood, like laydowns and brush piles, than others? Absolutely. Yeah, so like Randy's favorite style of jig to throw is just your regular round ball head.
Yep.
Which these do really good in like kind of the chunky rock. I think one of the best kind of all around, like if you fish jetties and stuff.
You don't listen to Debo. They work perfectly everywhere. Just know you're going to break off.
Yeah, if you're Randy, you'll use it anywhere and make it work. But something that works really good in the wooden brush, like as far as just a generic type of jig head, is the Arky style head. So you can see the way this is angled. And you've got to think about line ties too, depending on what you're doing. So both of these that I showed you have a horizontal line tie, which means that line tie, if I can show you here, is, I guess, perpendicular to the weed guard, I guess is how I would say it. I don't know how you would say that. As opposed to vertical, which means it's going to be, I guess, perpendicular to the hook, I guess is how you should say it. As opposed to a vertical line guide, which means the hole's going to be this way in line with the hook. So if you think something like a swim jig, those are going to have vertical line ties so you can help pull it right through the grass real easy. But something like this with the turned up nose, they've got so many different kinds. Companies are coming out with their own names of jig heads, but something with kind of a turned up nose like this usually does the best around wood. So, not like a football jig or a round ball head jig. Even a swim jig does all right, but they'll have a tendency to kind of roll over, whereas something like this will kind of ride up and over that wood. So Let's see. You ever tie? He's learning loop knots, walking baits all day. Yeah, I don't like them. I don't like loop knots. I don't like all the stuff going on in front of it. Lots of people saying they like the loop knot. I guess I'm in the minority here. What's up, Dizzle? Bill says. Number 2 rings are the size I use. Cooler says, yeah, I think number 3 split rings are my go-to mostly on everything. In some companies, like the sizes vary just a little bit. So in some companies, a 3 is actually pretty big, but normally I like a 3 on most of mine. Okay, what else do we have? So we're talking about jigs. What's up, everyone? Chris just got back from softball practice with the kiddo. What did I miss? Oh, Chris, we unlocked all the secrets to summer fishing. You missed out, dude. If you'd have been listening earlier, you'd
Everybody
figure out how to catch all the fish.
everybody's won the day already, so it's
Yep.
kind of pointless to, I don't know. We've caught all the fish.
We caught all of them. We taught people how to catch every single fish. Now there's none left. Bottom contact baits. Yeah, I think Matthew was talking about the rod price. Yeah, the bottom baits are the best to invest in, which I agree. And there's some unless, and I think they've gotten a lot better now. But if you want a really specific fit and feel for a rod, I'm not opposed to spending a little bit more money when it's something you use all the time. So let's say you're a jerkbait guy, you throw jerkbaits 90% of the time. I see nothing wrong. You are a jerk, Randy. Yeah, thanks for being it. I see nothing wrong with spending a little bit more money on a better rod for something that you're going to be using all the time that is comfortable, that is maybe a little bit lighter. So maybe not even necessarily maybe chatterbaits. Maybe you throw chatterbaits all the time and you find a little bit more expensive rod that just fits you, is lighter, and that's the rod you use 90% of the time. To me, I have no quarrels spending a little bit more money there.
Yeah, so real quick, just on that note, first of all, I'm watching a video right now as we're talking on a loop knot. I would never tie one of those ever in my life. That's way too many steps. I'll just throw an extra little piece of hardware on there. That's too much work. Secondly, I guess we fish a little bit differently, Debo, where you are more of specifically the way you hold your rod or in your reel combo, you feel your line a lot more. I watch the tip of my rod and the line a lot more than what you do. So that's where we differ quite a bit. Obviously, I'm going to watch and visibly try to see those bites, and I think it's worked out fairly well for me. And just like you want to feel that bite, you know. So it's definitely both of our answers are not going to be right for everybody. Um, it's just a whole broad spectrum of depending on how you actually like to fish and how you do fish and have your most confidence in fishing. Kind of circling back to the whole, the beginning of the live here.
Some Pennsylvanian. Good points, Randall. Thank you. Favorite accidental catch. Mine is a pike or drum. My favorite and the first donation of the night. My friend, thank you for the donation. First and only donation of the night. I appreciate it. My favorite accidental catch. I remember when I was fishing the river a while back when I caught a pretty huge gar. I've caught little tiny gar. But I think it went 8 pounds, 7 pounds, something like that, if I remember right. It was a big gar. And that was actually pretty fun because they're just so weirdly prehistoric looking. I feel like you could have took a hatchet to that fish and not hurt it. They're just plated. They're just mean little prehistoric torpedoes. But my favorite on the regular accidental catch, I love catching pike. Topwater pike. If you've never got on a topwater pike day, you're missing out. Pike are highly underrated. A lot of fun.
Yep, I totally agree with that. As much as I hate pike, I love to hook up with a pike just because they fight so hard. Granted, they stink and they're slimy and they're gross, but
they do really stink.
As soon as you hook up with one, you've got a fish on the end of your line, and that's just one of the better things. I will say my best accidental, I don't know if you want to say accidental hookup. Me and old Johnny were fishing this little slack water on the river, floating a slip bobber with a tiny little, one of those gold number, I don't know, negative super small hooks. I probably hooked up with like a 3 pound smallie. Dude, that thing fought insanely. Like, granted, it's not like a totally random hookup because we figured there was Smalley in there, but that was a pleasant surprise on such a light rod and reel combo.
Yeah, I agree with I don't know if it's AJ's or AJS, if it's an acronym or what, but said thoughts on the Dobbins reels. I kind of agree with Gramps. I looked at the Dobbins reels; they didn't look like anything special. Um, I'm sure I'm not knocking Dobbins by any means. And I know Gary said he had quite a bit of design input, working with them. But the thing is, like, people don't really, I guess, understand or know about the raw or the reel industry. There's a few big companies that make that produce reels besides Daiwa, Shimano, that have their own like factory type stuff. I think Okuma used to for a while, and I think 13 they used to use Banex, but I think they had something like that was going on of their own. Maybe not, but Daiwa, Shimano have their own. Then a lot of the other ones, you look at um, Doyo Korea, like Abu, Luz, Bass Pro, a bunch of different ones. And literally anybody, if you have enough money to go in and put an order, you can go through the catalog, pick the parts, and then, work with the design team type stuff. I don't know how all that works, behind the scenes, but, you could essentially get your shipment of reels made, right? So I kind of agree with Gramps. He said skip the Guggen and Dobbins reels for a couple of years. Yeah, like the Dobbins reels didn't look like anything too special. I haven't used one. I'm big on like I'm going to use it and try it first before I just say this thing sucks. But I kind of agree. I think there's a lot of other good reels, especially at $100, that are kind of proven at this point. Lose LFS, for example, Shimano SLX. That you could go for. But yeah, I would certainly give him a try. I think Rich got his hands on a couple. He had a subscriber send him a couple to try out. So I guess we'll hear what he says about him.
Oh, one question I just saw pop up. Who was it? I'm not quite sure who it was. It went past already. Father's Day sales. Do you know of any? Do you know of any big things going on?
Yeah, speaking of Gramps, I was actually just looking over. American Legacy had some really good Father's Day sales. They had like an extra 15 or something percent off on used gear. So if you're looking for gear, I've been actually a lot of my recent purchases have been from them in the used section, and they say quote unquote used. And it looks like it's never even been touched. If you get like the excellent category, they'll grade their stuff like excellent, like good, fair, and then there's like another one. And some of them you can tell are like pretty dinged up and bad looking, but like the ones that I got that were excellent, it's like these don't even look like they've been touched. So
Yeah, you've showed me one of those, and
them,
I was like,
yeah.
you could have put three in a line, and all three of them could have been, from in the excellent category, and I wouldn't have noticed whatsoever any of them.
I'm trying to think. Omnia had some stuff, and I would say use Rich's code. I don't think Rich is in here, but go look up Bass. He's got a deal where you can save like 10% on your order. I know Omnia had some stuff. Gramps too. I think it's Gramps 10. Gramps, you can put it in there. I know you're still in here. Put your code in there for anybody that goes over to American Legacy. Tackle Warehouse, I don't think had any other sales.
I didn't see
I
any.
think those were the two big. Oh, I guess I still have Tackle Warehouse brought up. I think those were the two big ones that I remember hearing about. But I'm sure if you look at, like Bass Pro and stuff, they've got their kind of sales.
I definitely appreciate Mr. Randy Soli's comment of his enjoying his 120 proof 9-year Knob Creek single barrel.
My,
Heck yeah.
sounds fancy. That sounds like lighter fluid. Good Lord.
It sounds like delicious.
TS, best Texas rig soft plastic of all time. Oh, dude. Is this where we land on for the final question? We'll do a couple.
Holy cow.
Rapid fire questions, and then we're going to get out of here. I can't believe we're already an hour 30. This is fun. I love this.
Man. You go.
I would say the Pit Boss. I would say the Pit Boss has to be up there as a top 3 of all time. If I think about like,
we're going just a top 3.
No, I'm saying it's got to be up. I don't know that I could just say one. Like it's
I,
got to be up there as like a stick bait. But the problem with stick bait is I've never been like diehard stick to one forever.
right.
Like a 5-inch stick bait. I guess pick your favorite, has to be up there. And I would
Here's
say a ribbon tail worm probably would be like I would of all time probably a Berkeley power bait Gila Sunrise worm,
I'm
eight
going
inch.
the OG triple OG chigger crawl.
See, I was
Berkeley
never really a
chigger crawl.
chigger. Yeah, I was never really a
Man,
chigger craw guy.
and then they went crazy leg chigger crawl with all the extra appendages and things like that. And I
Was
never
that
had
too crazy
as
for
good.
you?
It had too many things going on with it, and I never had as good of luck as what I did with the original chigger crawl. That thing on a Texas man, come on now. That's it. I gotta go. I'm gonna go fish with it right now at 9 o'clock at night.
I'm gonna go throw a chigger craw around. Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I like those kind of questions. Those are fun.
Yeah,
Let's see. Any
that's a good one.
suggestions? $100. Yeah, so they've come down a lot in price, man. The wet dog smell, dude. That's truly a smell. Wet dogs do stink. Like when they come in from the rain. Um, so actually, I just got and I've been testing and through it a lot today. I didn't catch any fish on it. I caught everything on a jackhammer. Gramps, thanks for keep pushing me on the jackhammer. It was another jackhammer day. But the Dobbins Maverick, which is $100 rod, I got the 705 CB cranking for like my 2.5 cranks, or maybe just a little bit heavier. You could throw 1.5s on it too, I think. But that's $100 rod. You know, the Fury rods, Dobbins Fury. I have the Daiwa. Let me look here. I will share with you because I always forget which one it is. I think it's the Daiwa Tatula XT. But I don't know if these were going on clearance. They were getting rid of these. But I had one and absolutely loved it. Oh, another good budget one. This isn't necessarily crank rod, but I've got the 7-foot medium of this Aridex for $50. It's a slick little rod. I think, yeah, 7-foot medium is what I have. Throws cranks extremely well. Really well built rod. I guess I should say it's really well built so far. I haven't had issues with it, but it's the black and white one, the Daiwa Tatula XT, I believe is what it is. Cranky. Yeah, on closeout, which pisses me off. Those are really good rods. It's right here.
So
I think they've got like
I know you've been
boom, there
throwing
it
the
is.
jackhammer
And they're on
quite a
sale.
bit. Not to change topics, but what's the other? Is it the mini? Mini with the what is it? The microchip board face thing, whatever it's called.
Well, the mini is just a smaller blade. I was throwing the stealth blade that I liked, that I thought
Oh
was kind
yes,
of cool and different.
the stealth blade was the one.
Yep.
I've actually picked up a couple of those, and since I've kind of actually cleaned up all of my fishing stuff, which is really sad. I managed to get the majority of I don't know, half of the stuff I have into a 41-gallon tote. So I'm rocking that. But I found a ton of lures that I even forgot that I bought. So win-win there, I guess.
Let's see. All right, we're gonna grab a couple more. I'm kind of behind in comments. I'm running through now. I'm back at 8:57. Oh, Rich says I'm back. Let's see. Let's do a couple more. We're doing a couple more rapid fire questions, and then we're getting out of here. Been a lot of fun. I appreciate everybody who sticks with me. 231 people in here still watching us talk about nonsense.
Oh,
Love it.
I'm gonna do it. I got one.
Oh, Ralph.
Rizzo. I'm going
Good call,
Rizzo
dude.
at 2144. If you could pick one rod for everything, what would it be?
Ooh, what time was this one? 21:44.
No, his name is Rizzo 2144 at 906.
Oh, here. Okay, this is what we're going to end on. We're ending on this one. We've opened a can of worms. If you could pick one rod for every, are we going brand and everything? Like you have to pick the brand, you have to pick the exact
You're
rod.
going, yes.
No, Lord.
Yep.
I don't know, dude.
Just the rod, not the reel, just the rod.
I don't know. So that's the thing that's like I love. Like I forget who it was I was talking to. They said, "When are you going to do more gear reviews?" Like I actually enjoy just like taking gear apart, messing with gear, like how does it cast? How does it feel? Like it's honestly some of my favorite stuff to do. And
sure.
I've almost got to like a perfectionation, which is like perfection mixed with procrastination because you want to do it so good that it doesn't get done.
Right.
Gosh, I don't even know. I use so many different, like, I test different brands and stuff. I don't even stick within a line. Like,
I'm still going with that, what is it? The lose, the reel that you still have of mine. It's a perfect match to that. It's the lose speed spool. God, I can't remember the name of it, but that for me is a perfect rod. I could throw realistically anything on it, I feel like, and be comfortable with catching a fish on
I don't even know. Like, dude, I don't even know where I would start.
it.
I don't even know. I know it would be like probably a 7'2" medium heavy rated for lures up to either 3/4 or an ounce, depending on, because each one is kind of a little bit different. But somewhere around in there, that would be my do it all. Probably 3/4. 7'2", medium heavy, rated for lures up to 3/4, and I can do pretty much anything on that rod, minus like heavy frog and heavy punching and real light lures. It'll do pretty much everything.
Gramps, yeah, he says that reel is written on the board, but then his daughter comes down and rides all over
No,
it,
it is.
missing, and
It's even got where I've got up and like bumped
oh,
against it, and
geez.
I'm not even gonna lie. I'm actually just gonna buy one and literally give you your reel back because
No, stop it. Don't be dumb. I'll slap your face if you do that. Unless you give me both. Huh? No, don't do either.
huh? What? Yeah, give me two. Okay.
What
Listen,
the
anyway,
fuck?
we have gone all sorts of different tangents tonight. It's been a ton of fun. We love you all. So we're gonna be back again next week. If you all have suggestions, things that you want to see for lives, if there's people you want to see on. I know we had a bunch of guests there for a while, and Randy and I were talking about it, and I'm like, I'm gonna kind of step back from guests for a little bit because I kind of felt like we were an infomercial every time. Like, and we didn't really mean it to be. And it's not that the companies that we had on were, but it was like, go check these guys out like every week. And I don't mind doing
Right,
that. I think it's cool to show the, the smaller companies and, the people you don't hear about as much. But I want to kind of have a mix of that, a mix of, hey, we're meeting with these people versus just chilling,
for
talking
sure.
around crap and lures and stuff. So
And real quick, Debo,
yeah, happy
before
Father's
you
Day to
do
everybody too.
your
Absolutely.
outro, I was just gonna say the exact same thing. I want to say Happy Father's Day to everybody out there. If you have the opportunity to get out and maybe fish with your children, and or if you don't have kids, try to get out and fish with your dad because you know Father's Day is pretty darn important. Without your dad, you wouldn't be here.
That's right. All right. Well, listen, everyone, we love y'all. Thanks for watching. And until next week.